Good evening. I'm calling this meeting to order at 7:05 p.m. If you're able, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Would you roll call, please?
Johnson, Kelly,
Present.
Mikulski,
Here.
Sabatini,
Present.
Leaks May.
Here. Excuse me, do we need to do the Johnson for this one too? We did it for the first meeting, but we should probably do it for this one. Okay.
Motion to excuse Councilmember Johnson?
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, approval of the agenda.
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
Support?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Our first presentation is a presentation from the Ferndale Area District Library. Welcome.
Good evening. I'm Drew McCauley. I'm the director of the Ferndale Area District Library, and as I suspect a lot of us already know, in August there will be a millage. I just wanted to take a brief moment to introduce, in case you don't know, this amazing person behind me, Jeff Milo, who is our director of marketing and communications at the Ferndale Area District Library. He's put together a wonderful presentation that integrates another integral part of our team, Fern the Frog. So take it away, Jeff.
Okay, great. Hello, City Council. Thanks for your time tonight. I want to give an update on the upcoming library millage. It'll be on the ballot, the primary election, August 4th. This is, oh, hang on, everybody. I know exactly how to do this. Oh, hello, great. So, the library's previous millage from 10 years ago will be expiring in 2027. It's notable that that was approved by a margin of 2-1 by our voters. The original rate was at 3.5 mils, but the Headley rollbacks has caused that current rate to come back down to 2.81 mils. But let me just run through a quick history here. In 2014, the Ferndale Library officially became a district library, which separated its governance and finances from the city. And then in 2016, when we had that great support for that previous millage, which allowed us to become that district library, it provided a dedicated revenue fund for operations and building costs. At 2017, moving forward, the library actually purchased its building from the city and took over the existing bond. That means that a portion of the library's budget is now allocated to building upkeep. That'll be important for later in my presentation. The library has been busier and more productive than ever. It's been doing more with less effectively. 2017, property values started going up. We were recovering from the recession, but the Headley rollback kept us going down a little bit more based on how much we were collecting. Yet, it remains one of the busiest places in town. Higher volumes of circulation compared to larger nearby libraries like Oak Park and Madison Heights, plus an average annual visit rate of more than 120,000 people. It keeps getting busier. If you can see, we have a 45% increase in checkouts since 10 years ago. We have a 92% increase in program attendance since 2016. We have also seen an increase in simply people coming to our reference desk to talk to our librarians and ask them for questions, be it questions about Ferndale or tech issues or the world or the news or just book recommendations. That's a 62% increase. We've also seen a 34% increase in computer sessions. That's literally human beings coming in to use our public computers who don't otherwise have access to the internet. Another notable thing that the library is experiencing is the high cost of digital resources. They continually keep getting more and more popular. But what's noteworthy about ebooks and audiobooks is that it costs the average library like us more than 3 times it would the average consumer to buy a print book. And yet, Ferndalians are downloading up to 50,000 ebooks and audiobooks per year with their library cards. That's a resource we want to continue to provide to our residents, which is why we're going to need support for the ballot. What is on the ballot coming up in 2026 in August? To the right side of the screen, you'll see the actual verbiage that voters are going to be encountering. Over to the right side of the screen, I'm not sure how my theater stage directions work here. You see like, I'm summing it down. This is a mill rate of 3.31 to fund daily operations, keep the building open. That includes supporting collection development, physical and digital, the programs we host up to 3 times a week, all the staff, all the supplies, everything. That would be 3.31 total, of which 2.81 is a renewal of the previously authorized rate. So there was an additional 0.50 mil. Going back to the fact that we own our own building and the fact that that building is now coming up on being 17 years old, there's a lot that needs to be repaired or replaced. So there is going to be a second question proposing a 0.5 mil for a longer term projects, needed repairs and replacements, maintenance, and general upkeep. That includes replacing the geothermal HVAC system. That includes addressing roofing, siding, and flooring needs, updating the Ethernet capacity. There are tons of patrons who come in day and day out, relying on our internet access, and just overall increases the lifespan of the library, making it a safe and accessible space for all members of our community. If both of these millages pass, you have an incredible laundry list of wonderful things that the library would be able to achieve. We would update that Ethernet. We would replace that geothermal HVAC. Digital borrowing would be preserved given how expensive it can be. We'd be able to stay open 7 days a week. We would replace all that carpeting. We would be able to fix the siding outside. We'd be able to add Yodo players to the youth department, which has been an increasingly popular request from our parents and caregivers. We'd be able to expand the foreign language collection. We'd be able to grow new collections like the vinyl collection from just 2 weeks ago that just premiered, STEM kits, and more. Programs would be able to grow as well. We'd be able to do more off-site field trips, like the time we've put a lot of people on a bus to go to the DIA. We'd also be able to finally implement credit card payment for printing and fines, giving an actual increased convenience to our patron experience. If both do not pass, the library will not receive the additional revenue it needs to fully support planned operations and rebuild savings. Thereby, it will limit our financial flexibility. Digital borrowing will be cut in half. There would likely be a significant reduction in the amount of programming we'd be offered, possibility of the reduction of hours, and needing to defer some building maintenance, which could risk having the building closed for unplanned maintenance, and we do not want that. Worst case, if none of these pass, there could be a future where the library is funded at below 1 mill rate. That would be a 66% reduction. But if you consider what we're able to do with support from the community, this is just some of the treats we've been able to offer the public over the last 10 years since the last support of the most previous millage. We've been able to expand to 7 days a week. If you've been around this town long enough, you remember when this library was only open 5 days a week. We boosted the Wi-Fi. You can actually access it from the courtyard and the parking lot. We host so many programs. We've been able to expand our youth outreach with the schools. We have the Library of Things. You can check out tools, vinyl, seeds, instruments, and more. We are now a fine-free library. We've been a fine-free library for more than 4 years now. We've been able to expand our community partnerships. We have been able to achieve a lot. I also host a podcast. It's fun. And frankly, it's important to remember when a millage year comes around, this is more than just a building with books. It offers all of this to everyone who walks in. Every individual has the opportunity to get free Wi-Fi, the opportunity to use our digital resources and use a library card to access online resources like Canopy, where you can download movies and stream them, audiobooks, ebooks, get discounted offers to go to metro parks and museums. All of this is achievable with a library card. Library cards are issued because a library is supported. More than 6,000, or if not just about 6,000 librarians signed up, Ferndalians signed up for or renewed their library card last year alone. And these are just testimonials we've heard from the patrons over the last 4 years. So as we go into a millage year, that is the basics of what we are presenting. It is a question for supporting operational funding and a capital assets fund to support much-needed repairs and replacements to infrastructure in the building. That'll sustain us for the next 10 years and help us experience and deliver a lot of magic to the community. We'll be at Ferndale Pride, just FYI, and summer reading kickoff is coming. This is our mascot. Her name is Fern. And if you're not otherwise aware, those absentee ballots are going out in late June, and the deadline to register to vote is July 21st. Thank you so much, everybody.
Does council have any questions regarding the upcoming millage proposal for the library? All right. I was just looking to see, so I know that you had something, an information session this past Saturday, I think it was. Was it a kickoff?
That was separate from the library. There might be citizens in the
Okay,
audience
citizens,
here who
yeah.
have something to
Okay.
say about that. Yeah.
All right. Okay, all right.
Thank you so much, everybody.
Through the chair, do we have access to this presentation, or can we
You can.
get this sent to us, please?
Of course.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time, too.
Thank you much.
Fern?
Our next presentation, DPW, DDA, and Center for Employment Opportunities Partnership Presentation.
So thank you, Mayor and Council. Good evening. This is a joint presentation by DPW and DDA and CEO. And what we're going to do is go over a partnership we have with them. I'm going to go over scope, costs, some local specifics, and then before that, I'm going to hand it over to them to go over mission, organization, the purpose. Go ahead, Connor.
Thank you, James. Good evening, all. Connor Lawrence here with Center for Employment Opportunities. I'm a Senior Associate of Policy and Business Development, which is a fancy way of saying that I help with a lot of the quality and partnerships that we do here in Pontiac. Center for Employment Opportunities, we started as a project that really the question came from, thank you. Question started for our nonprofit, why are communities being broken up by incarceration, and what can we do to fix that? The answer came through a program model that was designed specifically to have data to show what's working and what's not. Out of that project came CEO as an incantation. We were formed from that. What Center for Employment Opportunities does now is workforce development primarily for people who are coming home from incarceration. We help people in Oakland County who are coming home from both prison and local jails to get back onto a career path of their choosing and also work towards lowering recidivism rates overall. So in 2018, we opened a Detroit office, and in 2022, we were able to expand to Pontiac. In that time, we've been able to serve a little over 1,000 local residents in both the program as well as their ongoing career support as they're getting back into different types of jobs. A little vision, our motto, what we like to say is that we are a social enterprise primarily that supports, again, people who are coming home and are also job seekers. It's a voluntary program, which means for people who are coming to the program, they don't pay anything, there's no cost associated, but there is a performance aspect we ask people to keep. If they're coming to the program, we ask them to take the program seriously because we take the support seriously. And what I'll get into in a second is all of that support that we do offer to people, ecosystem, if you will, as they're coming home. We believe everyone, regardless of their past, deserves the chance to shape a stronger future for themselves, for their family, and for their communities. And we believe that regardless of their background, we want to help them with what that future can look like. Again, data goes back to show that recidivism rates can really be lowered through workforce support, getting people back into viable jobs where they can support themselves and their family, and how that relates to not having to do anything to the contrary to create that recidivism happening. A little bit about a program model. Our program model is 4 parts. Primarily, participants who are coming into the program, they start with our orientation. What that looks like is a week of paid training that we pay participants to learn our program model and then also learn the ecosystem that they're stepping into as far as the workforce partnerships that we have with both public and private partners. The orientation is a few days, and what that does is gives participants all of the personal protective gear they need to work on our work crews, and we'll get into the social enterprise aspect here in a second. It also allows all of our case managers and our team members to get to know the participants as they're coming in, and we are very thorough to do a case-by-case network of support to see who needs what as they're coming home, and how can we create kind of an action plan that helps them with that. So supportive services is very near and dear to our heart as well. We have a lot of partners that we work with to make sure that our participants as they're coming home do receive support, not just in workforce development, but in housing, food security, childcare access, things of that nature, so that when they are ready to step into a full-time job, they can do so. After the job readiness training, our participants get into 2 different accesses or cogs of the machine, if you will, of our program. Workforce development training with our case managers, where we do a lot of resume building, interview prep. We do a lot of advanced training as well. Interview prep also looks like working with employers directly, so we do a lot of setting up interviews with and for participants. And then on the other side of the house, while they're working on their professional development, working on things of that nature, we also have transitional work crews, which is primarily what we want to talk about today. Our transitional work crew partnerships help participants with immediate pay and immediate employment. We employ the participants first while they're in our program. After they graduate from our job readiness training class, we get them to work the very next Monday on one of our crews. We pay daily for the work that they're doing, and we also provide daily coaching, daily feedback, and daily support, depending on where our participants are at in their journey. For participants working on these crews, they're allowed access to that, and then also they're allowed access to 75 days in our program, working through, again, what their personal action plan is to full-time employment. During that time, they get to know our case managers and our site supervisors who supervise these work crews, provide all the transportation, provide all the coaching, provide all of the equipment, the gear, et cetera. They do all of that every day with our participants. So there's a real onus in that relationship between our site supervisors and our participants, a real quality there of the supervision and the mentorship. As participants are working on the work crews, identifying what career they want to get into, whether it be construction, whether it be sales, whether it be getting into transportation and logistics, things of that nature, we help provide advanced training as well. So if we have a participant that comes in and says they would like to get into, let's say, driving, CDL Class A, we have a partnership that allows participants to enroll, we cover the cost, and we still help them work part-time for their quality of living as they're getting that training as well. We have about 6 or 7 different training programs participants can take part in while they're also working on the crew and working through the program with our case managers. Once our participants get through job coaching, working through barriers that might hinder them from having a full-time work schedule, we then get to the phase of what we call job start ready. We have a matrix that we have participants go through that really judges the quality of every support needed for somebody to be at work stress-free and be able to do that time and time again, week in and week out. So a participant, once they meet these qualities of being job start ready, checking boxes, making sure that we've supported and they have access to transportation to get to work, childcare so that they can work freely, food access, et cetera, we help with these aspects. Once somebody is job start ready and they're ready to interview for that next leg of their journey, we help with the employment prep and then also the networking on behalf of the participants. We have case managers who go out and really canvass the networks in the neighborhoods to see what employers are hiring, who is second chance friendly, and who might want to hire one of our participants directly. And sometimes this also works through our crew partnerships. We have a local one with SACRA, and with SACRA, we've been fortunate to have a direct crew partnership where we provide them daily labor support, and then also a relationship where for those participants who say, full-time, long-term, I'd like to stay here, SACRA is able to then hire those people directly, and there's no additional charge, again, for us just wanting to see those people do well in the retention at that job. Once participants are supported and secure an interview and get into full-time placement, that is where we offer retention support. Up to a year for somebody being in a job. We really want to show them how much we are behind them in that. So we provide up to a year of additional case management, additional advanced training opportunities for people who would like to upskill and further their career in certain fields. And then we also offer a monetary stipend, a bonus, if you will, for the participants in this retention program. All of that to say, the public and private work crews are, the transitional work crews, our social enterprise model is the lifeblood that our participants do see the resource and the value in coming home and transitioning, looking for that work, being able to get secured into a crew pretty immediately does a world of wonders with people in a transient phase of their lives. So I do really, really love to talk about that program model. Also, just some of the benefits of what these partnerships can look like. For the participants, we provide a couple of benefits. One, again, is that financial stability, that immediate pay, access to benefits, and access to wraparound services. Something that doesn't always get quantified is also access to a social ecosystem again. When folks are coming home, sometimes that's actually a farce. It's not the home that they're really coming back to that they knew before. For people who have been inside of the prison system 10, 20, 30 years, it can look very, very different out here. And that can also be very frightening. For folks who come into our program, they can also meet other like-minded people who are getting into a different track of life and have some social stability as well, which does wonders to help with things like self-confidence and things like, again, word-of-mouth referrals to get people resources and things. Apart from that, we also, again, have the advanced training opportunities. One thing I didn't mention is the internships we provide. We provide internships for people who are looking to become case managers or site supervisors in training, and have seen a lot of really great success with our participants becoming case managers, interns in our program, and then being hired on internally either with us or with some of our referral partners as case managers as well. For partners, community benefits that we see is pretty copy and paste, plain and simple, very reliable benefits that you have for labor support. It's immediate, it's adaptable, we are flexible as far as the crews that we can make up, how the structure of that looks, schedule, all of that can be customizable. But the bread and butter is, again, going back to giving participants access to this adaptability. Fair chance hiring is also a big piece, being able to increase the labor pool and the market of the city of Ferndale specifically, being able to hire folks on permanently or temporarily. This is a great partnership to be able to look at that and test that out. Cultivating new talent and being able to see what participants are in their training journeys and what can be done there. I will also talk about just a little bit of the types of services that we offer: blight remediation, landscaping work, city beautification work, green space enhancement. These are all things that for the city does wonders for both, again, the look and the aspect of having a clean and neat city. For our participants, is also the benefit of being able to clean where they have come home to, take pride in the work that they're doing, and be able to give back to the cities that they're, again, returning home to. So these are a list of the public benefits that we have. Privately, we have, again, a partnership with SACRA. We also have some public partnerships with departments of transportation and some of our sister offices that have really helped, and we've seen the results time and time again. In a nutshell, that is our program model. I do want to turn it over briefly to our wonderful program manager, Gifty Umo, to talk about some of the local partnerships that we've been able to form here.
Thank you very much, Connor. Hello, everyone. My name is Gifty, and I am the Senior Programs Manager at CEO Michigan, where I cover the Pontiac office as well. Our Pontiac office or Pontiac participants have been incredible source of contributions to our communities, providing all of the support that Connor said, building the communities they've always known, but also they take pride in making sure that the communities are beautiful enough for not just themselves, but everyone around them to go in. In this fiscal year, we have seen lots of our participants gain full-time employment with partners in our communities that we work with. We also partner with, or we have crews within the healthcare institutions as well, and they have been one of the most reliable employees you can ever think of. Show up when it's raining, show up when the weathers are not great, and giving their 100% best. I think I would also like to touch point on the wraparound services that Connor mentioned earlier. The wraparound services that we provide do not just end when our participants get jobs. We are in their lives from the start, even after 1 year. And we still bring them back into our offices, not just to share their stories, but to also motivate others who may be going through the same pathways. Our participants will tell you that our crews have been more than just a job for them. It's been family, and you would always hear them once in a while call their cruise supervisors uncles, because they do not just provide those encouragement, but they are also there to step in and support them whenever they need so. I know in terms of employment, all of the partners that we've listed out there, including our partners in the healthcare institutions, have also been source of employment, I mentioned earlier, to our participants, and we've seen our participants gain promotions 2 months, 3 months, even 6 months into getting full-time employment. So our participants know that we are their biggest cheerleaders, but we are also there to move things along if we have to move things along.
Thank you. So I will go over a little bit the local. So what this looks like for us, local partnership is a seasonal maintenance program. We'll have one crew, which consists of 3 workers and 1 supervisor. We're looking at 3 days per week for 26 weeks. Our peak season downtown and throughout spring and summer, May through October. Work will be assigned by DPW. The crew supervisors, or the crews will be supervised by CEO. They'll begin their day at DPW, where they'll get their work assignment from our supervisors. So this is citywide maintenance support. Some of the tasks we'll be doing downtown, some sidewalk litter control, downtown maintenance, parking lots, other public spaces downtown, parks, restroom cleaning, litter pickup in our parks. They'll be monitoring and can monitor like the compost stations, some of the other areas, just to make sure that everything around there is maintained. Trash compactor, sanitation service and support, recycling, sorting. Withington, for example, we have a lot of cardboard that's generated. A lot of times it ends up on the ground. If we don't get there to put it in dumpsters or get another dumpster out, sometimes that can get thrown away. So we want to make sure that that doesn't happen. And then we have our food waste compost program. There are several sites throughout the city that need to be maintained as well, and these are some of the items that they'll do. And then I'll just mention something like City Hall. Some of our other facilities have some landscape beds, some other things that need weed pulling, plant planting. Some of those things like that are ways that we would like to use them. So the program cost is $537 approximately per day, and that's a crew rate for 6 hours. It comes up to about $22 per hour per person. So again, 3 days per week over that 26-week season comes out to about $42,000. And then we're recommending a 1/3 fund split based on the day they would work in the facilities and parks for 1 day, sanitation for 1 day, and then downtown DDA for 1 day. And those would be split by those 3 funds. So operationally and community value, this expands our capacity during peak season. The staffing here is flexible. There's no permanent staffing increase. They are cost effective versus contractors, provides workforce training, reentry support, which is a good mission to benefit for our region and for our city. We are also, I would also mention that they're active in regional operations. They do a great job. In Ferndale, if you're a resident, anything you throw in your bin goes to the material recovery facility in Troy, and it gets sorted by CEO workers. So neighboring communities are exploring similar programs, and we've actually reached out to a few of our neighbors, Oak Park being one of them that I think is in talks right now for a similar proposal. And then last thing that I'll mention is that DPW staff, this will allow DPW staff more time in the seat on advanced work. So whether that's working with a chainsaw, working in a sweeper, other types of equipment and operations. Some of these maintenance items most of them are critical. They're very important, but the more time our staff spends on them, the less time they spend just training and doing the more advanced work rather that we would prefer that they do. So again, I usually put a recommendation. There is no action item on this. This proposal is on the consent agenda. Be happy to take questions.
I love this. I love this. I think this is great. Anytime someone has a second chance after some sort of life circumstances, I'm all for it. I didn't hear, you mentioned it was a certain amount per day, but how many participants are we anticipating, or you're anticipating for taking in for seasonal?
3 crew and 1 supervisor for
One
3 days a
super?
week.
Okay. And what was the three-way split again? DDA, facility,
EDA facilities and sanitation.
sanitation? Okay.
Through the chair. I thought I saw $17.86 as the wage listed on your presentation. Did I get that right? And then does that all go to the worker?
That is the current wage that our program, case managers have been able to see that for participants in our program being placed into permanent employment, that is the average wage they're being placed at the moment. For our participants working on our work crews, typically the split is, if there's a city ordinance that has a living wage ordinance specifically, we honor that, of course, but if there's not that stipulation, minimum wage is typically the pay that we pay participants. Being that this is still a transitional program in nature, the whole goal is for participants to take part in it, receive the daily pay, and then work towards a sustainable, viable career after that. So for us, that is kind of why we split things up that way. Everything else is operational costs and keeping the lights on, so to speak.
Okay. And James, do we cover the admin operational costs, or and the workers get to keep their entire wage, or is it coming out of their end?
Yeah, so our day rate is $537
22 an hour.
for a supervisor and 3 crew
Okay.
members.
Okay, thank you.
Through the chair, where did that rate come from? Did we come up with the 22, or is that what?
That would be us.
Okay.
Yes. That was for all of the wages for participants, the supervisor, and then the costs for transportation, insurance for our vehicles, equipment, and all of the day of operational costs. We provide all of the high-vis vests, glasses, goggles, hard hats, steel-toe boots, everything of that nature as well.
So then do we have a sense of what the take-home for the 3 crew would be? Was that the 1786 figure?
Minimum wage.
Minimum wage.
Okay, which is, what is that in Michigan now?
I think it's about 1373.
1373, okay.
Is there opportunity after the 26 weeks for employment to continue possibly with some of these partnerships? Have you seen a trend in that?
Thought you'd never ask. Yes, absolutely. The one thing that we've seen with that is sometimes come down to funding. We had a wonderful partnership last fiscal year with the city of Pontiac, and it was a grant-funded operation. Unfortunately, the only reason it ended was because the grant also ended, and it was not opportunity to renew that specific grant for us. But with that said, absolutely. That's usually the hope, and what we've been trying to work towards is more long-term, consistent public partnerships.
Does the history follow the individual?
Are you asking for stigma or specifically?
I mean, just like I know that years ago we had banned the box for applications for the city of Ferndale. So I'm just asking, as they go through this and they move on, say they want to move on to something bigger, will their history from how they started, will it follow them?
I'd love to say a blanket no, but that's just not the reality that we live in. Certain backgrounds and certain stipulations do have a lot more stigma attached, and depending on the state you live in, if it's open, and to your point, if it's a ban the box state, then that information sometimes can be more public knowledge. For our participants, we have a lot of relationships that we have worked on with probation and parole offices as well, where they will refer people to our program. And although it's not a requirement for them, we've had many participants get off of their parole or probation early as a result of time spent in our program. Also with employer partners, training partners, both city and state and private, they see the CEO model, or just the network, if you will, as that blanket of support that is the stand in the gap resource, if you will. We do vouch for participants, and for some employers, for some partners, that is enough to erase that. That's not always like that in reality, but that's what we we try to work towards every day.
And if we have a minute, I'd like to tell you about a participant of ours who got a job as an environmental services personnel, and in less than 2 months, he was already promoted to lead the crew. So we have employers who would put, their best foot forward, take chances on a participant, and would champion them all along if they actually deserve it. So yes, we have participants who've moved through the ladders, who've gotten promotions in less than 2 months of them being on the job, and they've started flying from there.
Through the chair, is this replacing any seasonal work that we had already scheduled, like a certain number of crew that we might have seasonally? Or is this in addition to crew that we would normally have scheduled?
We haven't looked at seasonal. We would probably recommend still hiring some seasonal staff, but this could easily take the position of a seasonal employee. I think we typically carry 5 to 6 throughout spring and summer, and then we could likely cut that back by 1 to accommodate this. Yep.
Great. Thank you.
How did you all find each other? That's my question. I love hearing about partnerships and collaborations, so.
Annie, do you want to tell the story?
Yeah, so prior to my role with the city of Ferndale, I worked with Detroit at Work in the city of Detroit. It's a consortium of Michigan Works agencies, and CEO, among others, was one of their partners for just a multitude of hiring opportunities and the importance of, people who are coming back from incarceration, what that means for them, having, processing it in their own lives, and then also returning to the workforce and, making a success after that kind of experience. So it was something I had seen through the city of Detroit and programs there to encourage to reduce also the discrimination in hiring practices. It is a huge stigma. We've talked about that, and so this is, I think, an incredible opportunity to bring this to Ferndale. It very much aligns with our values of inclusivity and making sure that there's equity in our practices. So it's really great to see this come through. I've been in touch with Connor for about 2 years now on various opportunities, including certain seasonal things and multiple bids. So it's great to see this as something that DPW is supporting to incorporate into the city. And I've also seen successes in other communities. Ypsilanti has a great program, and I've been in other communities where you see workers who come through programs like this, and to talk to them about what a difference this makes for job training and to give them opportunities that might not otherwise be available to them. And it's incredibly transformative. So really excited to see it come home to this community.
Any other questions from council? Well, I see that you're on the consent agenda, so we'll move forward from there. Thank you. Thank you for presenting.
Thank you.
All right. We are now at the portion of the meeting for call to audience, where you can come up to the podium and speak on anything on or off the agenda. Please state your name and address, and you have 3 minutes to state your concerns, whatever they may be, or support, or whatever it is. So I'm opening it up, call to audience at 7:44.
Hello, I'm Savannah Camplin. I'm here just to express my support. I am the chair of the Yes Ferndale Library campaign. We had our launch on Saturday, as some of you knew about. I just wanted to tell everyone the library has been like the most important place for me since moving here. I moved here 3 years ago. I'm in my mid-30s. It's hard to make friends. The library offered me so many easy ways to access community members and meet people who have similar interests. Beyond that, they serve so many other purposes in the community. So I'm just here to express my support. I'll probably be talking about this more in coming city council meetings during public comment. I will probably be reaching out to each of you to ask for support and endorsement for our campaign. But please vote yes for everyone who's here in August, because the library is an invaluable resource to us in this community, and we want them to keep being able to do the amazing things they're already doing and to do even more amazing things. So thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, excuse me. My name's Alyssa Tawby. I'm sorry, am I supposed to state my address?
It's up to you. If you
Okay,
signed in
I
at the
did
back,
sign
that's
in.
fine.
I'm here tonight to introduce myself formally as the Community Engagement Representative assigned to Ferndale from the Oakland County Water Resources Commissioner Jim Nash's office. This is an especially special visit for me because I'm also a Ferndale resident. So I mostly just want to introduce myself to you in person, let you know that even though we don't operate and maintain the water and sewer systems for the city, I am available to answer any questions that you might ever have. I've been with Commissioner Nash for about 13 years now, so I am kind of unusually knowledgeable about water infrastructure, and I'm not an engineer, so I can talk to you about it in a way that you can understand. If you ever have a community event that you might like to invite our office to have a table at, to talk to people about, we would love to be there. We were just at the Ferndale Community Resource Fair at the high school not that long ago. It went really well. I brought some folders that when I'm done talking, if it's okay with you, I brought one for each of you. I'd like to come up there and hand them to you. My helper was going to do it. She's feeling a little shy. But there is a QR code in here. If you scan it, it will take you to our public education materials page on our website. I welcome you to take anything off of that that you might ever like to use. There's an environmental water-related campaign that you feel personally passionate about. Use it however you'd like, share it. If there's something that you would like to see but you don't see it already on there, we're happy to create materials. We have an event coming up on Thursday that Councilman Sabatini is already registered for, actually. It's called How Water Works. It is geared towards informing elected and their appointed officials about exactly what our office does. We work for you, and a lot of people don't know that we exist. And because the infrastructure that we operate and maintain is underground, it often gets forgotten about. So if you're available or if you want to pass it on to somebody that reports to you, we have a couple of spots left. It's at the George W. Kuhn Retention Treatment Basin in Madison Heights, which you may have heard about in the news a little bit recently. Most of what you hear is inaccurate at best, so the day will finish with a tour of the facility. It's the largest RTB in the country, so it's a pretty cool tour. We also have something I need to mention called the Hardship Assistance Program. That is separate from the Water Residential Assistance Program, which helps people to pay their water bills and is an income-based program. What we call HAP is ARPA funds that were given to us by the Board of Commissioners. Those will help people pay their water bill when they're experiencing a hardship. So it's not as constrained by income. If you have a car accident, a health incident, you lose your job, but your income for the year so far puts you above that threshold, we want to step in, we want to help you pay your water bill and stay current because the entire system benefits when people pay their bills. So let's use the money. Thank you very much.
She wants to hand them.
Hi, my name is Lori O'Brien. I'm with the Ferndale Cat Shelter, 686 Livernois. I just wanted to call attention to two events we have coming up, community events. First of all, we have Livernois Bingo. We have 11 businesses in Livernois Business Corridor, which is somewhat kind of overlooked, but is a vibrant, walkable, fun community area between Marshall and 8 Miles. So we have 11 businesses from Ted's Bike Shop and Olives to the Ferndale Project. They're all participating in this game. You can pick up a bingo card at any location. You get it stamped when you visit, and each business is contributing prizes to that. We just wanted to, we're already a strong community, but we really wanted to increase foot traffic and perhaps take each other's audiences and turn them on to each other. So if you're a book fan at Whistler's, you might want to visit Cats or have a beer at Ferndale Project. So that's one event we have coming up. This runs from May 1st, this coming Friday, through May 18th. The second event we have coming up is a Cats versus Dogs kickball game. It's a charity event at Geary Park. We are partnering with Rebel Dogs Detroit. So we have vendors and sponsors we are currently lining up. It's a family event, calling attention to adoptable animals, the need for these nonprofits, the constant need for these nonprofits for money, volunteers, time, and certainly homes for these homeless animals. So, thanks.
Good evening, I'm Chris McLonis. I live at 634 East Marshall, just east of Hilton Road. I also work at the University of Detroit Mercy, so it's a 3-mile drive each way, 5 days a week. One thing I've noticed, probably not everybody in Ferndale is aware of this, at the Shell gas station on the north side of 8 Mile, as you're crossing the border into Ferndale, there is a very faded sign that says no left turn. And I cannot tell you how many times people going northbound on Livernois turn left. And, well, this morning I didn't exactly die. I'm here. I didn't almost die either, but I was driving southbound to go to work, and a guy in a pickup truck was coming northbound and was starting to get into the turn lane, and I managed to swerve to avoid him. I just think it would be a good idea to replace that sign. And I'm assuming that because it's on the Ferndale side, we would have jurisdiction over it. And again, it's next to the Shell station. It's on the west side of Livernois going northbound. For anybody who, and I can submit pictures at some point, for those who are more visually inclined. Thank you.
Good evening, Paul Collum, East Breckenridge Street. I just want to remind people that this Wednesday at the First United Methodist Church, we're having a community meal for those who need a meal, serving from 6 to 7. If you have any questions, you can give the church a call at 248-545-4467. And then I also want to remind people, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, from 1 to 2, they're offering a free lunch as well. So no questions asked. All right, thank you.
Hi, good evening. My name is Chris Gilmer Hill. I'm running for our state house seat here in District 8. I live in Detroit, just across from here. I'm not here to talk about myself today, though. I'm here to bring back up something that I've talked about here before, which is the Michigan Money Out of Politics ballot measure. So that is just wrapping up getting signatures pretty soon, in just a few weeks. So I just want to make one last plea to anyone who's here. If you haven't signed it yet, and if you're at all interested in getting corporate money out of our state politics, I'd really invite you to come chat with me and see if there might be something you'd want to sign. Obviously, signing a petition does not commit you at all to voting in any way, but the petition does have to get a lot of signatures to get onto the ballot. They've gotten a lot of signatures, but you always need a buffer just because some people will have made a mistake when they're filling it out. Some signatures won't quite match up. It's always good to have as many as possible to turn in. So this ballot measure, to be specific, would prohibit regulated monopoly utilities, so that's DTE, consumers, as well as anyone that has more than a $250,000 contract with the state, which would include a lot of big corporations like Blue Cross Blue Shield, et cetera. They would be prohibited from certain kinds of election spending in our state elections. Right now, the overwhelming majority of legislators in both parties take significant contributions from, say, DTE and consumers. And when we look at why aren't we getting progress on clean energy legislation, on energy affordability legislation, a lot of it traces back to the influence of that money in our politics. So we really have the power this year to get that out of our system for good. It's in a way that works with Citizens United. I believe we need to repeal that at the federal level in the long term. In the short term, this is something that we have the power to do in the state of Michigan to control who's going to be influencing our elections. So if that's at all interesting to you, please come chat with me. I have a pen and petition sheets, and if you'd be willing to sign, that would be really a huge help getting this on the ballot so that I can continue to bug you all about it until November. Thank you.
open for called audience, if anyone has anything you'd like to speak on or off the agenda. Okay. With that being said, then I'm closing call to audience at 7:55. Now we have a public hearing. Let's see here. The public hearing is to adopt the, to adopt the fiscal year general appropriations budget and resolution to set the fiscal year 27 tax water rate, tax water sewer and sanitation rates submitted by the city manager. May I have a motion to open the public hearing at 7:55?
So moved.
Second.
Support.
Oh, support.
Okay. Thank you, support. We'll leave it open to you. City manager.
You,
Just call the
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Now you're on.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. This marks the conclusion of our annual budgeting process, and for the Finance Department, the beginning of fiscal year end 26 closeout. We are at the last phase in this annual budgeting step, and of course, this year that process was just slightly different with kicking off through a strategic goal-setting process to really inform this budget application. What were those strategic goal areas again? The community center, police and fire facilities, housing development strategies, resident services, and then kind of a bucket of other priorities and services. But those first four are really what we ended up seeing as the primary components of at least the discretionary funding portions of the fiscal year 27 budget. What is this looking like in terms of the overall projected millage rate? This is the most recent updated figures for the millage rates based on the county rollback. You will note there is a roughly 0.09 difference in the overall millage from what we originally projected to now, which is very solid in terms of staying within a reasonable margin for our first estimate. The difference there is the fact that the rollback was slightly larger than we anticipated, but the voted millage was actually exempt from any rollback in the first year, so the full amount will be levied in that first year. How is this trending in terms of total general fund expenditures and revenues? For the fiscal year 26 projected, which is the year we're currently sitting in and will be closing out soon, very positive trends in terms of what expenses and revenues are looking like. The net difference between revenue and expenditure, while it's shown as neutral here for budgeting purposes, that's because it shows a roughly $500,000 transfer to the Public Improvement Fund. If you recall in previous conversations, the city has the option every year with any fund balance reserves to either allow that to go into the general fund reserve balance, which is a standard action, or to transfer it into the Public Improvement Fund. For balancing purposes, we show it transferring into the Public Improvement Fund this year and in future years, because at this point we have a sufficient reserve balance for our general fund, that being in excess of 25%. Also, as noted in the first reading, we did have disparities between 28 and 29 with the revenues and expenditures. Various capital projects were deferred in order to ensure that all funds have sufficient reserve balances through fiscal year 29. So there is no fund in this current version that will be adopted that has any deficit of its fund balance. And then obviously we're only adopting technically the 27 budget, but we budget for multiple years so that we understand what our forecast is looking like. Major takeaways from the changes, again, we continue to have a balanced budget through the general fund. Some changes on the expenditure side. We did show an increase in investment towards capital projects. That's something we've talked about throughout this budget setting process. New to this version, we now show a repayment of debt to the OPED trust fund. That is scheduled to actually start this year, so that's shown in both the fiscal year 26 projected amended budget and the fiscal year 27, what will be proposed adopted budget. We also, of note, show the full retiree pension obligation. So we assume for fiscal year 27 that full pension obligation will exist. But we do know that question is before voters in August. And if voters do support that ballot measure, it would allow the city to reduce its pension obligation payments by combining the police and fire with the general employee retirement system. At that point, the city could expect to amend its budget with a much more favorable revision in terms of total expenditure reductions. Right now, though, with that roll to the Public Improvement Fund, the general fund is projecting a net revenue of about $300,000. That's just slightly less than 1% of the budget. I would like to see that higher. We're hopeful we'll be able to reevaluate that in August. If that were to pass in August, then we'd be looking at more like 2.8% of budget, which is very healthy in my opinion to have that. Really anything over 2.5% as a budget buffer is very comfortable. Also reflected in this budget, of course, is the final tax rollback factor, and as well the tax rate request forms are included in your agenda packet. Those tax rate request forms are very formulaic, so it's really just a factor of what the prior year's, in most cases it's a factor of what the prior year's millage rate was, multiplied by the Headley reduction factor, which is a rate that is established for us based on Headley and Proposal A that limits how quickly our taxable value can grow. And in other cases, if it's a debt-related millage, it is specific to what the debt repayment or the expense obligation of that item is. So the city doesn't have a lot of discretion over setting those rates. They are very factor-based. Finally, in the Water and Sewer Fund, the anticipated rate increases that we received from the Water Resources Commissioner Office of 5.1 and 5.7% for sanitary and storm sewer respectively are also reflected. So we are very confident that we have all of the figures that are necessary for a reasonable and forward-looking budget for fiscal year 27. There's no outstanding major revenue or expense questions still to answer. And as I noted earlier, all funds are now reflective of a positive fund balance into future years. Any questions?
Because this is a public hearing, I will open it up to audience for questions first. Seeing none, I'll open it up to council for any questions or comments.
Are you going to close the public hearing?
Oh, sorry, close. I don't know, I guess since we're still talking, I keep thinking that it's open all to everybody. But I'm closing the public hearing then officially at 8:03, and I guess we need a motion to do that.
A motion to close the public hearing at
Yes.
8:03?
Yes.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Open up to council.
Through the chair. Colleen, I know you and I have talked a little bit about the Downtown Development Authority and the net revenue versus appropriations in their fund. Can you give us a very high-level overview of the negative balances that we're projecting in the next few years?
So originally, by fiscal year 29, there was a projected deficit of, I believe, about $130,000 as of the last reading. That is only resolved through deferring one of the major capital expenditures in fiscal year 29, which is not an item that could be wholly deferred, and that is for renewal of the TIF for that district. So it should be expected that some costs will need to be incurred, and other measures would need to take place to reduce expenditures, really monitor expenditures between now and fiscal year 29 that help to ensure that that fund balance remains positive into the future.
extensive conversations.
We've been talking about this for months, so I'm not offended that, you know.
All right. Okay, so. I don't know why I keep getting confused about this. Okay. So now we need the motion to adopt the fiscal year 2027 general appropriations budget and resolution to set the fiscal year 27 tax, water, and sewer and sanitation rates as submitted by the city manager.
So moved.
Support. Sorry.
Roll call?
Kelly,
Yes.
Mikulski,
Yes.
Sabatini,
Yes.
Leaks May.
Yes. Thank you. That has passed our triennial budget for fiscal year 2027 through 29. All right. Thank you for everybody's work on that, by the way. Consent agenda. Approve of the April 13th, 2026 meeting minutes. 7B, acceptance of the resignation of Councilmember Donnie Johnson. 7C, approval to amend Chapter 6, Buildings and Regulations, Article 12, Environmental Performance Standards, Section 6 through -385 of the Ferndale Code of Ordinances. 7D, approval of resolution to authorize qualified licensees for the Ferndale Social District. 7E, approval of the resolution recognizing May as Jewish American Heritage Month. 7F, approval of the listed appointments and reappointments for city boards and commissions. 7G, approval of the fiscal year ending 26 third quarter budget amendment. 7H, approval of the professional services agreement with OHM Advisors for as-need planning services. 7I, approval of the street sweeping services agreement with the City of Pleasant Ridge. 7J, renewal of permit between the City of Ferndale and McLeod USA Telecommunications Services LLC. 7K, approval of the bid awards to Roller Construction Company and Becker Arena Products, Inc., to complete site work and construction for the Harding Park inline skate rink replacement project. 7L, approval of the agreement with Giffords and Webster for the project management services on the Harding Park inline skate rink replacement project in the amount of $24,657.00. 7M, approval of the MLSGO youth soccer uniform kits from RX Sports LLC in the amount of $10,892.46. 7N, approval of the city's fiduciary liability policy renewal in the amount of $24,885. 7O, approval of the fiscal year ending 26 audit engagement letter with Manor Costerison in the amount of $62,600. 7P, approval of the purchase of splash pad pump from HD Supply in the amount of $7,742.70. 7Q, approval of the maintenance services agreement with the Center for Employment Opportunities in the amount of $42,000. 7R, approval of the community tree planting program by Schichtos Nursery in the amount not to exceed $15,000. And 7S, approval of bills and payrolls as submitted by the Finance Director and subject to review by the Council Finance Committee. All right.
Move to accept the consent agenda as presented.
Support.
Roll call?
Kelly,
Yes.
Sabatini,
Yes.
Mikulski.
Yes.
Leaks May.
Yes. Would you like to? read
The
it?
opportunity
Okay.
to read this?
All right.
Absolutely. Okay, I'm going to read the resolution recognizing May as Jewish American Heritage Month in Ferndale. Jewish Americans have lived in what is now the United States for more than, I thought we took this part out, 350 years, contributing profoundly to the nation's cultural, civic, economic, scientific, and artistic life. Jewish immigrants and their descendants have played an essential role in shaping the ideals of freedom, justice, education, entrepreneurship, and public service that define the American experience. Jewish Americans have made extraordinary contributions across countless fields, including medicine, science, civil rights, labor, the arts, literature, law, business, and public service. Jewish communities throughout Michigan and the Metro Detroit region have enriched our state through philanthropy, education, innovation, and civic leadership. There is opportunity for greater understanding of Jewish American history, culture, and the contributions in order to combat anti-Semitism, prejudice, and discrimination through education, awareness, and inclusion. The City of Ferndale values diversity, inclusion, and the many cultures that strengthen our community and recognizes the importance of honoring the history, resilience, and contributions of Jewish Americans. Now therefore, be it resolved that the Ferndale City Council hereby recognizes May 2026 as Jewish American Heritage Month in the City of Ferndale, and that the City of Ferndale encourages residents, schools, businesses, and community organizations to learn about and celebrate the history, heritage, and achievements of Jewish Americans, and that the city reaffirms its commitment to standing against anti-Semitism, bigotry, and discrimination in all forms, and to fostering a welcoming, inclusive community for all, and that it's adopted in Ferndale. Regular session this 27th day of April 2026.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And so, before we move on to the regular agenda, I don't know if this was made clear, but is anyone here that was appointed based on the consent agenda, that was appointed to one of the boards and commissions? I normally like to give them an opportunity to introduce themselves, but since someone's here, we're moving on. All right, regular agenda. Give me a minute to pull it up here on my end. All right. The suggested action is to award the contract for banking services to Huntington Bank N.A. We need a motion and a second to discuss.
Well, do we have the presentation first or the motion?
Nope,
first?
motion first.
To award the contract for banking services to Huntington Bank?
Yes.
Move to.
Okay.
Support.
All right. And now we will up for presentation.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So we currently bank with Comerica. We've had quite a bit of issues with them. They're a little outdated. They're not easy to work with. We have a lot of issues doing research within the accounts. We can't see same-day transactions, so it's hard to see when things are coming in. When things get returned, we can't see what it is. They fax it to us. We've had issues with that. We've had some other issues as well with that. So we did an RFP for banking services, and we had 5 come back with information. Huntington is the strongest one. They have the most government clients. They've really one-on-one, hands-on, working with clients to get the implementation done correctly. Colleen and I both used this bank before. We were happy with it. We're familiar with it. Their rates are, obviously, the better the rates. So currently, we're spending about $72,000 in banking fees a year. So with going with Huntington, it'll be about $25,000. So it's pretty good savings for us. They're also local. They're down the street, so that's nice.
Just put it aside so people can see it better.
Oh, that might help. Thank you. Huntington has agreed to waive treasury fees for this first few months while we go through the implementation process. Comerica Bank obviously will remain open while we update the merchant's information and get everything going. Once we are fully set up with Huntington, we will obviously close Comerica. And the summer tax payments will not be affected at all by this. We've already closed the lockbox that we had with Comerica. The winter tax payments went directly to us. We already have those envelopes addressed to come here, so we won't have any issues with lockbox. And when we are having conversations with residents, we are informing them to change their banking information so that the payments get here in time.
I guess I just need to hear the part, so the summer tax payments, they're not going to be affected, and when you say the lockbox has been closed and payments will be sent directly here, so as residents are sending in those payments, or they're just automatically being transferred to us, or?
So the lockbox,
Make sure that,
yeah, it used to go to a address in Detroit, and they would be
Okay.
processed by water or tax, and then they would send us a file for it. We've had some issues with that, and there's been delays with people's payments getting here on time, so we chose not to open the lockbox at all. So every payment that would have been sent to the lockbox will come directly to City Hall.
got it, got it.
If you recall, sorry, if you recall last year, we had significant issues with the lockbox and the read system that Comerica used, particularly for our taxes, that led to the delay that we had with getting taxes out and ultimately meant that we couldn't get the coupons out with the tax bill. It was determined after talking with staff, we really don't receive such an exorbitant amount of direct mail through that system that we couldn't handle processing those payments ourselves internally. And it ensures that we are present and actually accounting for the checks that we receive. So if there are, discrepancies with that information, we know about it immediately, as opposed to having to wait through that system for Comerica or another bank to let us know that there was an issue, and getting the check returned to us or getting returned to the sender. It's a little bit more work on our part, but we think it's a better customer service tool.
Right, so through the chair, that's where I was kind of going with my question. With the Comerica process, it was an automated process, so we would generate the sort of invoice/ticket that would go with the check payment. The check payment would get sent in with that ticket. They would be able to marry the two and then send us the electronic file that would append to our system to basically say the payment has been made, right? So now the checks are going to come in to us directly with the invoice, and somebody is manually typing these in, or
We're
is
scanning
that-
it. We have a point, yeah, we have scanners, so it's just a scan, same thing. Instead of them scanning it, we scan it.
We don't anticipate that this is going to necessitate additional headcount for like accounts receivable, right?
No.
Okay.
No, I think that it'll be a little bit more work for us, obviously, towards the end of the month when the coupons are due. But overall, I think we'll be more than capable of handling it.
Okay. Do we have a basic idea of roughly how many payments come in through this more manual process? Like how many checks we receive?
Right now, all we were getting were water payments, because the tax payments, unless they didn't have their information in their bank changed, we had very few of those for the winter tax payments. So all we were left with were the water payments. I'd say maybe 20 to 25 went through a week through the lockbox.
Okay.
Your peak season will be the month of July when we have tax payments coming in. But even then, it's probably something closer to 15 to 30 a day, but still a manageable workload.
Through the chair, is that the work, is this the workload just until we completely onboard with Huntington, or is that this is now the work flow going forward?
Right now, that is the anticipated workflow going forward.
Do we anticipate any sort of issues with those folks who have their tax payment escrowed through their mortgage?
No, I've already been in contact with Coyote and Loretta to let them know that we are moving away from the county, so that file will be sent directly to us. We'll get that and we'll import it, and then we'll also send us a wire.
Great.
It's good to know I'm one of those mortgage payers. All right, you as well?
Yep,
Yeah, okay.
absolutely.
All right. Well, now we have a motion and it's been seconded. Unless there's any other questions? Maybe have a roll call.
Kelly,
Yes.
Mikulski,
Yes.
Sabatini,
Yes.
Leaks May.
Yes, thank you. All right. Now we here, moving on to, we have some discussion items. And let me just pull it up here first. Okay. Okay. All right, no suggested item, no suggested action required. Okay. So now we will have the presentation. And it said Dave, but I think it's you?
Yeah, so it said Dave for the presentation? Oh, you may have created the discussion item for us.
Okay.
Apologies about that.
Surprise.
So we are asking council to consider some alternatives that have been floating around regarding downtown parking. We are hearing from the local business community some differences of opinion regarding what path to move forward with. There is, one, two, three, a small number who are supportive of a valet service, potentially a slightly larger group who seems to want to focus more on the addition of parking spaces by using on-street areas that are currently restricted from parking. So some avenues that the city has been considering at this point. One is looking at Bermuda between Vester and Breckenridge. That would allow us to offer some on-street spaces on the west side of the street alone. We've also started looking at whether enforcement parameters could change anywhere on Breckenridge, or if additional parking could be feasible, at least in the places on Breckenridge where the road is not overly restricted by the parking on two sides, because Breckenridge does currently allow parking on the south side of the street with some restrictions. The request is to consider looking at the north side of the street. There's also been some consideration of maybe changing the configuration of on-street parking spaces, having DPW assess whether the lined spaces could accommodate more spaces throughout the district, as well as looking at angled parking for the currently parallel spaces on Breckenridge would add more value. In that case, the cost to value ratio of creating potentially 3 to 4 more spaces may not be there. So likely that Bermuda and the Breckenridge opportunities are a bit higher. I know that many members of the business community have also spoken with you all. DDA has been working on a pilot proposal for a valet system, and we wanted to present this more as a discussion item than any express ask, although certainly if there is direction that council would like to give today, you are always welcome to make that motion and make that ask. But I will turn it over now to DJ Director Beaker to talk a little bit more about the parking pilot, the valet pilot, and certainly we can both answer any questions about the various topics that are kind of floating around there.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, Council, and Ferndale community. I'll start with a slide that is not entirely scientific, but is meant to be a little bit more of a visual representation to indicate the various things that we're working with on figuring out parking in the northeast quadrant. So you can see highlighted in purple where are the public parking surface lots. I have not highlighted all of the street parking that's available, but purple are the lots, and on the east side I've indicated roughly how many spaces are in them. You can also see on Vester Avenue where the Vester Flats development is going in. That did result in a loss of 75 privately owned surface lot spaces when that construction was approved. So over the last 2 years, we have been preparing for a deficit of parking relative to demand in this area that is especially high on evenings and weekends due to number of businesses there, especially restaurants and concert venues and entertainment establishments as well. So hopefully you can see a little bit in the color here, kind of tried to highlight the difference between what we would classify maybe as more like daytime oriented businesses, those who may have commercial space, they may have clients that are coming during the day, or just office workers who are consuming space. So those are in the lightest orange. Then there's a little bit of a transition to those who may be more afternoon into evening. This would include restaurants that may have like daytime lunch service and then also evening service. And so those who may be closing a little bit on the earlier side, and then you can see in a darker orange what I would classify as a little bit more oriented towards later evening. So this is where their clientele may be showing up later in the evening and going to, say, after midnight, especially for bars versus a restaurant who may close service earlier. So that's not comprehensive, but just to give you a little bit of an idea that there's not really a one-size-fits-all for this. There's different demand for different spaces at different periods. So in discussions we've had over the last year and a half with businesses, with some pilot programs that we've been exploring and proposing grants for, was to at least try and do a valet pilot. The assumption here through speaking with Park Ferndale is understanding that there are lots that fill up first and really stay at capacity for demand, in particular the lot that is on 9 Mile behind Como's, often referred to as the Como's lot. That tends to fill up first and stay at capacity. Across the street, lot number 10, which is often known as the library lot, tends to fill up second, and it stays at pretty high capacity, whereas lot 11 here, that is between the library and City Hall, fills up last and is often under capacity. So that means that there are spaces that are available typically until later in the evening, because people just behaviorally don't seem to see this space first. When they're visiting places that are closer to Woodward, they may or may not come down here. It is also something we are working on with wayfinding to make sure that people know this is a public lot that is available at hourly rates. You can park here using the app and many ways to pay. So it's a matter of raising visibility for this lot, but then also trying to manage that behavior and reducing people that might be circling in other areas. So back in December, based on some feedback we had initially from businesses wanting to see something that we could bring a valet pilot, this was identified as something that would bring a positive promotion as a convenience factor, that people could have a little bit more of a guarantee to be closer to the business that they might be trying to visit. And then we also wanted to keep this at a pretty affordable rate, even though it is a special service, but we aren't looking to make a profit on this. We are looking to support the businesses in a time of need with this program. So we did have approval. I, as the executive director, had approval from the board to start a procurement process to see what a valet service provider would look like. We put that out to public bid and received 5 responses. They were all pretty much within reason. They weren't nothing that was really extraordinarily more or less than we had been planning for costs on this, but we were able to select a lead candidate who is Ferndale based and make some cost projections based on that I'll talk to in a moment. And the next steps to pursue this pilot would be to refine an agreement for spaces, figuring out whether that is a private partnership or a possibility to use public space at a lease rate within the city. And then when we're ready to pursue with that, we would confirm the layout with other businesses and the service provider involved, and then start those contracts as soon as possible to get that rolling. So we've been working on this for a few months now, especially pursuing some private partnerships, but in the meanwhile also discussing what is kind of a backup plan to at least get some more information on what real demand would look like for a valet program. What is the price sensitivity for fixed rate parking in the city. So our plan with this was to go from 6 p.m. to midnight for a valet pilot at a $10 flat rate and start that on Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays only. So building on the last slide, as you can see, our proposed layout for this from speaking to the service provider and some of the other stakeholder businesses and establishments would be to do the staging on Bermuda, close to the intersection of Vester. We had explored possibilities to do the valet staging. That's the area for drop-off and pickup. You leave your vehicle with an attendant. Looking at doing that closer to Woodward or along Vester, but those both create some safety concerns as far as traffic. Would there be a likelihood for backups to grow onto Woodward that would create a hazard? Would there be too much traffic on Vester where it's reduced to one-way only and then backing in and out of spaces? So there are a number of logistics and safety reasons why we ultimately went with the proposed staging at the corner of Bermuda and Vester. That would be just south of the Vester intersection. There are 5 city-owned spaces there that we, as the DDA, would propose to lease from the city at an hourly rate, but that gives the valet operator place for a stand. It gives space for cars to pull in, a little bit of overflow if there's a backup with attendants for whatever reason, but that just for a variety of reasons seemed to be the best place. In this pilot proposal, the attendants would be taking the cars from Vester and Bermuda, going southbound to 9 Mile, making a controlled light left. So that is a legal thing for a lot of valet service providers. They don't want to make, turns where it's not going to be guaranteed with traffic controls, like a stoplight or right-hand turns would be preferred. So that would be the best possible turn for them, would be to go left and then turn right into the lot here off of 9 Mile. And then we identified the center spaces as really being the best for this pilot. There are businesses that often use the spaces that are closest to 9 Mile. So from a visibility standpoint, we wanted to keep those available that people could see if there's parking close to 9 Mile. They can see that from the street. Then same thing for the spaces that are closest to Troy on the kind of south side of that lot. People who are visiting a business can see that there's space available and would be drawn to those spaces. There was also, I'm looking at my library colleagues behind me here, some concerns about where library staff are parking, and they are actually assigned to use those spaces that would be on the south side of that lot. So this was for reasons of being able to cordon off spaces and keep visibility for still available parking in the public sector on the north and south side of the lot, and then valet would control those reserved spaces that would be in the middle. This is also the easiest to kind of keep separate because there's not entries and exits there, so people would still be able to circulate throughout the rest of the lot. If they don't find a space, they could continue to another exit. So with this again, for the exit route, we discussed this with public safety, and best recommendation from them was to use Troy as the exit to go south and then westbound to Woodward, turn there, and then they would be able to turn back onto Vester, make a right, going down that street to avoid residential neighborhoods. This is also a pretty direct route because the only holdup would be getting onto Woodward from Troy and then the possibility of the stoplight, but again, it's a controlled light, so there is a expectation management there. And then they would again turn on to Vester and then drop the car facing southbound, similar to how somebody would have dropped it off the attendant earlier. So for the revenue and cost analysis, I think I mentioned before, if I didn't, the approval from the DDA board was a pilot for 3 months for a cost not to exceed $30,000. So you can see if we estimate the 30 spaces and a little bit of turnover, this cost analysis is based on 40 cars per day of service. That's reasonable thereabouts to expect, and speaking from the attendants, that we would see a little bit of turnover. Not all cars would stay for the entire 6 hours. There would be some churn in there. If that's the case, the amount of revenues that we would be collecting offset by the cost of both the valet staff and the leasing of city-owned spaces, we would run a deficit, a loss of about roughly $5,000 to $6,000 per month. Each month for the 3 months. So this is a net calculation of revenues that would be from the $10 per flat rate cost, but then offset by the expenses of of the street spaces on Bermuda, and then also in the lot, as well as the valet staff. This was calculated with 3 staff that would include a supervisor, so there's always at least one person at the stand, one person who's ready to receive, and then another runner back and forth to the lot. So this is, as you can see, not something that is sustainable for long term. This is something that we are hoping to see as a pilot. This intention is to collect information to gauge, is this something that the public, for customers in particular, are that they would like to see. There are still some other options for staff or employees, folks during the day. This is very much oriented at the visitors who would be coming to Ferndale and driving to Ferndale in the evening. We also wanted to keep this option as close to the businesses as possible for accessibility purposes. Not everyone can walk great distances. Not everyone can be reasonably expected to walk or bike or take some other transit to Ferndale. So we wanted to kind of balance this as best we could with that option. And just for a comparison, this is another real-life example that I saw recently. I was in Tulsa, Oklahoma for the Main Street National Conference the week before last. It was very funny. This district called the Arts District I was walking through has a very similar vibe to Ferndale, very creative, has a lot of nighttime entertainment options, great dining, and you can see pictured, these two guys here are the valet stand. They are contracted by a restaurant called Amelia's. It's a great little spot there on the corner that is nestled in between other bars and restaurants. They have a $10 flat rate for a surface lot that is a little bit further than people are typically interested in walking, but they are able to make that run in less than 2 minutes. I also talked to the attendant there, who you can either pay $10 for valet from Amelia's right there at the curbside, or you can pay $10 to self-park and walk a few blocks. And from talking to both of them, it was a pretty reasonable cost. $10 seems to be the happy amount that people will pay. It doesn't seem to be too excessive. It doesn't create the need for change, or it feels like the right amount to start. So you can see, again, comparing the distance between these, it's about a little over 0.1 miles for the example in Tulsa, and then you can see right next to it almost a similar layout for what the runner would look like coming from Bermuda to the lot here on the left. So it's a little bit further to the furthest distance, so adding an extra minute there. Next steps, if this was approved for a lease agreement from the city council, we would ask for an exception for the valet standard rate to lease the on-street spaces and the surface lot spaces at the hourly rate for the fixed amount of hours that we would need for them to be. If we pursued this with the standard full day reserved valet rate or other rates, it would really not be feasible that much for the DDA to undertake as a pilot. So that would be an ask coming up before council if they would approve that, that exception. If that were approved, we would be able to start service Friday, May 8th. This would be after Cinco de Mayo weekend that's coming up this weekend. So that festival will have part of Bermuda and 9 Mile closed, so it wouldn't be practical or really good data to start during a special event. We would then plan to keep for the month of May, Friday and Saturday service. We would also have to suspend service later in the month but due to Ferndale Pride. So that might be an option where we explore what does Thursday and Friday look like if we're not able to do service on Saturday because of Pride. We'll also have to suspend service for any other special events this summer, including market days. Our PDCA, for Plan, Do, Check, and Act, it's a project management approach, would be to collect our performance measures and really monitor the data to see, again, how much demand is there for this? Is the price right? Is it too expensive? Is it an expectation that people don't actually want this service? We won't know until we try it. So this is really a data-driven exercise. We'll also be following closely the feedback from the businesses to see if their customers are speaking favorably of this, if it is a good talking point for them, or if it's something that they just don't want. And if there is positive feedback, we can iterate and continue this for the next month. If there is a lot of dissent against it, we can cancel it at any time and work towards something else. So again, the expectation here would be 3 months total, starting in May, June, and then ending, making a permanent decision by July. I'll also look to the city manager and director of Park Ferndale about other possibilities. It was also mentioned by the city manager activating parts of Bermuda that would be where there's currently no street parking allowed. There is a section between Vester and Breckenridge that could accommodate about 8 to 9 spaces. It's roughly the same size as Vester to 9 Mile. So if that were permitted for long-term parking or hourly parking, that would add a little bit more space there. And then the north side of Breckenridge, where there's currently no parking allowed, or it's residential only, so there would be a few additional long-term permit spaces. This is oriented more at staffing, especially staffing for the restaurants and bars and evening establishments that have staff that are coming in later in the day. We are continuing to pursue public-private partnerships for larger capacity lots. So we've got two really, I think, great leads that we are continuing to work on. And we actually hope that the pilot with valet would give us a better idea of how far are people willing to walk, or what is the cost they're willing to pay for a slightly more expensive than the public rate service there. So either way, the pilot information we hope would give us a better approach to take to these partnerships and ask them what we're pursuing. So just another kind of final slide here for consideration would be, you can see highlighted in kind of fuchsia, the additional on-street activated spaces that Park Ferndale would be monitoring, our proposed valet routes, and the affected businesses overall. So I'm happy to take any questions or any further discussion and encourage any feedback from those in the audience who may have come to speak about this topic.
Did I see that this is expected to start on May 8th?
If there was an approval from council to have hourly rates, we could start on May 8th. We have a service provider that we've been discussing with for several weeks now. They could get that started within 2 weeks.
Do you think that we have a meeting before then?
No, our next meeting is May 11th.
May 11th?
Yeah.
So how would it be approved by council?
So that, as I noted at the beginning of this discussion, if council is amenable to any of these ideas, and I'd certainly encourage us to ask questions and delve deeper into some of these topics, then you could still take action as this is on the agenda. You could, amend the discussion and make an action. But that'd have to be properly moved, seconded, and presented.
Then I'll open it up for council discussion then.
Through the chair, did we look at any other options for the valet rather than taking parking away from our public lots?
Yes. As far as proximity to the area that's most affected, there's not any other destination that has that much parking in one spot. So there are a few other smaller lots that would be either further for the valet to run to, that would increase the time and then also the labor cost, or that just wouldn't have the capacity to make it worth a valet staffing on it.
Whatever happened with Comerica, because that was what we discussed, I thought, went through DDA, when we discussed it. Credit Union One, yeah.
Credit Union One conversations are still ongoing. They have not provided a clear response whether they will or would not support a lease agreement for a project like this. However, they did recently put us in contact with their marketing team to talk about what sort of promotions they might expect if they did partner with us, which I guess I view as a positive sign, but it's not entirely clear yet. That has been kind of going on for several months now.
And then what about Anna's uniforms? Didn't you say recently you were speaking with them?
Yeah, there's still the possibility that we would have the potential to evaluate other surface lots in the area. Nothing is concrete. No one has given us authorization or indicated that they would support that at this time. But I do think that we can anticipate some opportunity in the future if we determine that there is demand for this long-term. That may come with varying costs to the city, which we'll need to evaluate, but we don't have all of those answers yet.
So through the chair, can I ask the question of, again, I heard that there might be driving issues with getting over to the dot. I don't see it as a very far distance, like out of line with what we're looking at on this map. So I'm trying to understand why we're not using the asset that we have that is never, it's never full. Even on the weekend, as somebody that goes out into our downtown on a regular basis, I don't see it as full. And instead, it feels like we're just pushing the problem around, because I do feel like the library lot has historically been full. Do we know the use rate of the library lot? I guess maybe that's the starter.
Yes, our parking department does track utilization. So we have utilization down to the day. They take utilization at the noon and the 8 p.m. hour. So we see afternoon, both evening utilization. For the library lot most recently, it looks like for the month of March, for example, we had about 87% utilization across the board, but peak utilization between 93 and 97% on weekends. More on average around 90% for Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And the lot 13 behind Como's is the highest utilized lot, unsurprisingly. That is during peak times, nearly full capacity, 96 to 97% utilization. Really the only lot that systematically displays availability during peak times is the City Hall lot. And I believe the average for that one is closer to the 70 to 80% range.
Through the chair, that was also our reason for selecting the center bit of lot 11, was that there is typically capacity. Even observationally, we see that it fills up last if it fills up on these same times when lot 10 and 13 would both be full. And then the challenge with a valet like this would be crossing Woodward to begin with, and then congestion along 9 miles. So for a valet route, the time it would take for them to make either a Michigan left, and then the route would be significantly longer to get across Woodward, and then the running time to get back from the vehicle, and then also having to wait and cross at the light, it just adds up. So it would be cost prohibitive for a valet staffing staged in this place on the northeast to be parking really kind of at the southwest.
When you say running time, you literally mean running time?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I was trying
Yeah.
to figure out.
It was actually, if I look back at the Tulsa example, I spent more time than I would like to admit watching this operation of cars dropping off in the lower right-hand corner where you can see the two at symbols. Roughly in the upper left corner, that's where Amelia's is located, and that white SUV was parked by the shorter guy. I believe his name was, one of them was named Colin, I forget the other guy's name. But they talked about, like, you could see them at a good pace going back and forth. And it's also something, too, that even under inclement weather, people are less inclined to make that trek. So this is something where you do see options being available if it's raining a little bit, or if you've got kind of children, how far do you want to walk with that? It's a lot easier to drop off a car and go straight to where you're trying to get to on the block than having to go 2 more blocks and then walk back. We can't control human behavior, but we can monitor it and influence it and work around it as best we can.
Through the chair, this example here, this was administered by the city of Tulsa or the restaurant?
That restaurant actually takes care of the valet themselves. So I think I've got some statistics from them about how many bookings they have a night, and if it's high capacity, from that one restaurant alone, that site, they see easily 10 to 15 cars.
Okay. How do you anticipate users understanding that it's a city valet service rather than, I forget where you said the stand was, Vester and Bermuda, rather than the closest business there, and then, oh, I'll use it, or no, I'm not going to use it because I'm not going to that restaurant?
Yep. We saw this as a positive promotional point, that when we stage the valet on Bermuda, there will be plenty of signage, even going as far over to Woodward. So we want people to know you're turning from Woodward onto Vester, and that the valet stand is located at the end of the street at Bermuda. This is something that businesses could co-promote. So also from speaking to some Elks members, they also on evenings and weekends are big consumers of parking. So they could circulate that information amongst their members. Any of the restaurants could promote this as a service that their customers could use and help us to indicate that it's going to be located down the street.
Are there any examples of cities sponsoring, administering valet services that we could look at?
Yep. So Ferndale has actually done this before as well. When the garage was being constructed on West Troy, they had valet service on the west side. That staging, I believe, though, was in the Spalding Curtin parking lot for the funeral home, again, subject to their availability. So Ferndale has seen a model like this. At that time, I believe, is actually free. So we spoke with some of the program managers who did that at the time. This is a little bit different circumstance because we're post-COVID. People's habits are different. So we saw this as an opportunity to get fresh local data. Birmingham also has done this before, and then I believe Northville, and I'm forgetting another kind of Southeast Michigan community. But it's not uncommon. It's just typically not something that the city undertakes.
So you were saying we didn't, in the COVID era example, we didn't learn anything that we can apply to this. It's not apples to apples.
I would say it's not apples to apples because it was the west side. There was still parking on Withington. It was really more, I would say like the loss of parking was less for the construction there. And then there were other options nearby. And again, it's more than 6 years old. So we don't have a lot of that data still.
I do just want to add, not to, discourage anyone's thought process, but because I did let the business community that's reached out to me know that I would represent their position, there is a fairly strong contingent of businesses in this quadrant who do not support this particular valet pilot because it reduces the number of available parking spots. The comments from that group are that they wish for the City Hall parking lot to be considered perhaps to increase the availability of long-term parking or employee parking, as well as for the city and DDA to focus more on creating additional spaces as opposed to just reusing spaces for a different purpose. Again, not trying to undermine the validity of any opportunities that are presented to us, but I think it's fair that we represent those individuals who have very recently expressed strong positions.
That's what I was kind of looking through the email just to see what their concerns were. And when we did the valet before, we did it at Anna's Uniforms, correct? Well, it wasn't Anna's Uniforms at that time, but is that where the staging area was?
Not to my knowledge, because the valet service would have been on the west side. So it was closer to Allen.
When was it?
And it was staged in the funeral home parking lot,
Okay.
which is across from Western Market on the other side of Ferndale House.
Maybe it was another time, because I believe Michael Larry was saying they used that in the past, but I'm not sure.
I believe Anna's has been used by other private
Yeah.
parties,
Okay.
not to my knowledge by the city at any point.
So through the chair, can we start with maybe the easiest one? The 5 on-street spaces are requested on Bermuda.
Yeah, we believe approximately 8 to 9 spaces could be created on Bermuda by taking the west side of the street and allowing on-street parking specifically for long-term parking or some employee-based permit.
And at what cost would that be to us?
The cost for that would be a one-time cost associated with creating the new signage and striping, and then the recurring cost of adding that zone for enforcement. The signage and striping costs probably one time up front between $2,000 and $4,000, and then a recurring cost of $3,500 annually for the additional enforcement time.
I mean, that feels like a win. That's something that has been requested by these businesses since our first initial conversation about 141 Vester before we even took the vote. We have been told that that was not possible. So if it is possible, I know I would personally support opening up Bermuda for some additional parking just to get the ball rolling with that.
Yeah, the pros are that there are very few drive aisles located along that stretch. There's the alley and one driveway, so you have fewer issues with turn radiuses into private property or into public alleys. The con, obviously, is that adding parking to one side of the street does narrow the street, though it was determined that there would be sufficient width, 11 feet, for our fire engines to travel. The thought process was if we make the parking on the west side of the street, then any emergency vehicles would be traveling on the east side of the street, which would be northbound, and all of our emergency facilities are located south of that location, so going to an emergency would most likely be northbound. This particular proposal has, had eyes from both the police and the fire chief. Obviously, for emergency response purposes, we always want as much space as we can get, but we could make that work.
Through the chair, have we polled residents in that area of the impact and their desire to have parking added there?
Along Bermuda?
Bermuda and what was the other one?
Breckenridge would be
Breckenridge.
the other area that we have to consider. So, no, we have not sent out any resident surveys. This is a fairly new development. I think I just got involved in these particular parts of the conversations the mid part of last week. So this is a little bit rushed in terms of our presentation, and another reason we wanted to present it as a discussion item. But if it's, the desire of council that we put out some sort of notice to residents or solicit feedback, that's certainly something we can accommodate. I think if we're doing that, we would probably just open it up to everyone within a specific radius.
You said that the businesses were in favor of this second plan, the Bermuda and Breckenridge spots?
Yes, it does appear that there is, I don't think they purport to speak for all businesses in that quadrant, but there does appear to be a large contingent of businesses that is in support of creating more on-street parking spaces.
On those streets now, what kind of signage to indicate no parking exists? I ask because you start opening up parking on one side of the street, people are likely going to see it and say, oh, we can park on this street now, I'm going to park on the east side.
Yes, along Bermuda, there are several no parking signs, probably about every 20 to 30 feet. If you look on Google Street View, there's a fair number of them just on that block alone. We have complete discretion, though, if we feel like additional signage or larger signage is needed. That's certainly something we can accommodate. Something we've also discussed, again, is restricting the types of users so that this really is just intended for employee parking, possibly creating a new permit that would be exclusive to downtown businesses that could be secured through the business, and then they control what number of their employees have access to it. But the first step is figuring out where we have spaces to do that.
Do we have enforcement resources for?
Yes, yeah, and that's where the cost would come in, because adding a new zone adds time to the routes that our current traffic enforcement group follows now. I believe estimating 5 enforcement activities per parking day, then the cost for adding Bermuda is about $3,500 a year.
And then the one-time cost you said was $2,000 about?
$2,000 to $4,000. I mean, that really would depend on what sort of cost we could get or what necessary on-street striping would be. The cost for us to create signage is relatively nominal, and then the cost for DPW time for install.
Do we have a estimate? The valet over a 3-month period was a net loss of 20-some K. What's the estimated impact of this Bermuda Breckenridge plan, financially speaking?
The Bermuda plan, one-time cost or loss, so to speak, again, of $2,000 to $4,000, and then recurring annual cost of $3,500. The Breckenridge for those 6 spaces would actually be slightly less because there's already enforcement activity on Breckenridge because of the south side of the enforcement pertaining to the south side of the street. But I don't have an exact figure on if we added those 6 spaces. I presume it would be less than the $3,500 for the Bermuda spaces because that's a truly new zone.
So we're not anticipating making money off those spots?
No, we would anticipate breaking even. That would be the, I guess that would be the catch here is if the city wants to break even, it would need to identify some cost associated with those parking permits, unless we want to, operate at a particular deficit. But then you do have the challenge of how do we decide who gets 9 free parking permits, as opposed to just operating a for-sale system that have a limited number available.
Do we have any idea of how many of these employees would take advantage of this? I mean, where are they currently parking?
So it appears that they are currently parking in the existing surface lots and oftentimes just paying the daily fee, which ends up being something like $10 to $15 per day. I do have a meeting this week with representatives from the business association that is growing out of that corridor. And one of the questions that I've presented is, how many employees will we be talking about? How are spaces utilized now? And, you know, what could the city expect in terms of need and use, hours for operation? When is your peak need? Things like that. So I'm hoping to get more information and seek input from the actual operators in terms of what their demand would be. I don't think, you know, we can solve the problem for every employee parking downtown, but if we could get a better understanding of the peak demand and mitigate that during that season, it would certainly help to open up spaces for more turnover for actual visitors.
So we really can't move on anything until we get some more information.
We could definitely start down the path of Bermuda, and that really doesn't require any direct action on your part because all the costs are nominal or just a factor of our existing enforcement agreement. So that's really more for parking and DPW to determine what sort of process signage we would need, what enforcement mechanism we would want. The hesitation with that, I would, if we do move forward, that want to mirror whatever we do there in terms of the enforcement and the hours of operation with other areas that we create. So may want to pause just a beat to figure out if there will be more than just those spaces so that we can create similar signage and similar expectations, and then say, you know, we have this permit and 36 spaces will be available here, 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 and here. But I do think absolutely worst case scenario, we can at least open up, like I said, the 8 to 9 spaces on Bermuda and they become long-term parking under an existing permit plan.
Yeah. I'd be more comfortable with that than certainly the valet. It just kind of seems like a wash, and we're losing money on it at the same time. And the businesses don't want it as is, right? So, or I'd feel more comfortable if it wasn't taking away from the existing parking that we had. I think that was intent, at least through the DDA when I was there and we were chatting about it, was to create additional parking.
Yeah, I do. I mean, I think everyone's in agreement that in an ideal situation, any valet would create new spaces.
Yeah.
We've just struggled to get anything across the finish line with those private property owners.
Through the chair, when are you meeting with these businesses?
Wednesday afternoon.
Wednesday afternoon? Can we get a time, now that you have a new contact at Credit Union One, can we get a time to maybe meet with them on Friday? Is that possible?
With Credit Union One?
Yeah.
We've already sent a follow-up message. I've asked them for availability this week to meet with myself, Parking Director Campbell, and Director Beaker. So I'm waiting on a response on their availability.
The chair, push for Friday.
Okay.
And if you meet with these businesses on Wednesday, I would love it if we could find out how many of them bank with Credit Union One, because this affects everybody in this area. We have been asking for this and trying to get this for a long time now, and I'm glad that we have a new contact. I'm hopeful that Credit Union One is open to further discussions on this. They have been great partners with other organizations, other events that have come through. And I'd just like to speak to somebody. I feel like this email game that we're doing has just slowed things down. If we can get something on their calendar with the appropriate folks this week on Friday, I know that I'm available. Are you available as somebody from the DDA? Maybe between the two of us, we would be able to attend that and speak on behalf of some of the businesses that have been reaching out to us historically, and are currently still reaching out and are growing more and more frustrated. And perhaps we can invite some of those businesses to come with us, just as a show of how many people are impacted by this.
Yeah, I will happily keep you in the loop. I'm more than open to trying a new tactic on this one.
No pressure.
Yeah. In that no pressure Laura Mikulski sort of
Yeah.
way.
Yeah, small amount of pressure, because if this does not get scheduled, I am going to, full disclosure, I'm going to go in there this Friday and sit until we can find somebody to speak to.
Yeah, I will keep you posted.
Through the chair, would the Bermuda Breckenridge solution be a permanent change, a permanent addition of spaces, or is this, we talking a temporary solution?
I think we could also easily pilot it if we want, though, you know, if we're gonna go through the trouble of installing signage and, painting the street, that may be a longer-term solution. We could certainly put up temporary signage if we wanted to, but it does confuse enforcement a little bit, when the signage isn't clear and obvious.
Okay. That, yeah, I didn't understand that at first. Thank you for clarifying. I think I would feel more comfortable chatting with residents than prior to making a permanent adjustment in their neighborhood.
What does this do for the timeline now?
I think in terms of the timeline, it sounds like we'll probably have this for a discussion item again at our next meeting, barring Laura breaking down the doors of Credit Union 1, to get us an answer. But at the very least, by the next meeting, I would anticipate we will have had conversations with the business community and get a better idea of the need and the peak demand for these spaces, have answers to what, if anything, could be accommodated on Breckenridge, and more specifics around what sort of hours of operations we could expect for this type of permit, as well as, you know, potentially responses from those private lots that we're looking into. But, you know, the implementation of anything that's on street can be relatively quick, depending on just our DPW department's current priorities. Probably within a couple weeks of getting approval or having a plan in place, we could have those sort of on-street installations resolved.
What do you need from us tonight?
If council wants to take any specific action on anything you've heard, obviously there is a request for the valet pilot that would only be feasible if the current fee schedule is waived for valet services and an hourly rate is applied. Then that is action you could take. Otherwise, again, for the on-street spaces, which are the lowest hanging fruit, none of the costs associated with those or the actions are expressly council actions. I think we're all on the same page that we would want more information from the local businesses, input from the surrounding residential community, and to discuss more what the parameters of an actual plan could look like.
So we're looking at supporting or not supporting the pilot tonight for the valet, just to have something in place right now. Is
Yeah.
that what we're looking?
That would be one question, yes.
What we want to do. I mean, we don't have anything right now, really. So what do we want to do?
I think is the consensus no on the pilot program at this time. And we'll assess it, see if we can get a meeting Friday and discuss it in 2 weeks. And maybe we can have some actual action items at that time.
Yeah, that I would support. I don't want to say no. I just want to see if we can work on this more permanent solution that actually doesn't tie up our spaces. So let's see if we can fast track that meeting and what we can do in the meantime. Maybe bring it back.
I'm not a no. It's just that maybe we shouldn't place it on the vote right now. Just let's see what happens first before we do that. Because I don't think it would pass now. So.
I will share that
framework that was recently presented to me was calling it tuition, that it's not a cost loss, that it's not us wasting money, that we are paying to learn something. So this would be a pilot that is geared at tuition for us to understand what does valet service, price sensitivity, and operations look like before we undertake a larger agreement with possibly larger space that maybe there isn't demand there. So we were hoping to learn something before going into larger agreements through this.
Thank you, Jenny. You know, I was a big advocate and been pushing for this for a long time. I just would like to see us not take away from the current parking that we have, if we can find a solution.
And remind me one more time, when was the earliest that we could get this up and functional?
If the exception to rates was approved, we could have service starting on Friday, May 8th. So not this weekend, but next weekend.
If for some reason, through the chair, if for some reason we get a firm no from the credit union before that time period, is it possible that we could call a special meeting so that we could authorize this, so that we could get the pilot program up and use those spaces to get a little bit of data and quantification regarding this kind of program?
Yeah, I mean, we could call a special meeting for any reason with at least 18 hours notice, so if that's the desire of council, 100%.
Well, we might be having a special meeting anyways, more to come
Yeah.
at the next topic.
Yeah,
and
next
we could
discussion.
just throw that in there, so.
Through the chair, I mean, just for transparency's sake, I'd be a no, as presented. Just the cost gives me pause. I'm framing it as tuition or loss. I can't get my head around it as presented, so if there's further discussion, then it could be, explained. I'm more than willing to change my mind, but that's just where I'm at right now.
And Jenny, maybe you could better explain the DDA's role in supporting the businesses, so that's kind of why it would come out of the DDA fund to help support the businesses, and that's, how would you explain that better?
Yeah, the cost would be borne by the DDA. We looked at this as a sustainability effort for those businesses. It is an investment to give them, positive promotion with additional parking options, that if the perception is there's not places to park down there, this would be an option for us to introduce parking. And then I would have to look back at the numbers. There was a break-even amount, because even with Credit Union 1 being a little bit further away, there would be additional labor cost on that. And there, I have to look, I think the break-even number I want to say was like around 80 cars per night consistently.
Thank you. So the cost to the city then as presented would be the loss of the existing spots if we went with the
Yeah,
proposal as presented.
but the city would be made whole through the purchase of the hourly rate.
Okay.
So there's no real demand for valet services in the city hall parking lot otherwise. There's not a direct revenue loss to the auto parking fund as a result of this plan.
Okay, thank you.
Oh. To be continued, right? Okay.
Thank you, council.
We now have another discussion item, and that is the council vacancy. So, I don't know, who do I leave this up to?
I'll give a quick introduction, but
All
this
right.
this is really largely intended to be led by you all. Obviously, we've at this meeting accepted the resignation of Councilmember Johnson. We now have a vacancy on the council board, which we have been promoting applications for since just after our last meeting. At this point, at this current time, we have 14 applicants, so just in the last day and a half, 2 more have come in. And I think the question that I've heard consistently from you all is how you will go about maybe narrowing that candidate pool and move forward with the process. We do have 2 meetings between now and when the decision needs to be made. So a meeting on May 11th and then a decision no later than May 26th. I think the intent when we originally discussed this was that there may be some public presentations from candidates or at least public comments during that May 11th meeting. But I think I've heard pretty clearly from most of you, you don't necessarily want to have, 14 to 20 of those at that meeting. So kind of what next steps you want to take, if there's additional questions you want us to ask of candidates as they come in to help you with that decision. If any of you have a strategy or thought about narrowing the candidate pool, that's really what the feedback staff's looking for to help you administer this process.
May I ask, just council as a whole, have you all, we've all been looking at the applications, obviously. Have you been narrowing them down yourself right now, going through that process? Because that's what I've been doing.
Yes.
All right, so then if we have maybe a special session, a closed session before the May 11th meeting, maybe if we have so many, each of us has so many candidates kind of narrowed down, maybe we can have a discussion at that time?
I don't think we can have
The
a closed
chair,
session.
Can we
yeah,
have
I'm
a
not
closed
sure that
session?
would be appropriate for a closed session.
Nope, so then not to narrow it down, so,
It's certainly at the open session, you can
Discuss the-
collectively decide how you wish to narrow it down, should you wish to narrow it down. But that's not an appropriate topic for a closed session.
okay, all right, I wasn't sure. All
One of
right.
the things that we had discussed was potentially having a special meeting to invite the candidates here to speak, so it's not at a regular meeting, right? To give, I don't know if we'd want to narrow it down before then. We've kind of talked about different things, but to have a special meeting where they could, each candidate to come speak for 5 minutes, per se.
With maybe some additional questions to
Yeah.
talk, to spark talking points
Yeah.
for that. I like that.
You know,
And at that meeting, what would we do after that? Just out of curiosity, would we?
well, then we would probably have to talk individually and decide who we wanted to come to the meeting where we would make the decision, the final top 5 or 3 or whatnot.
Let me ask you this then, if we do something like that, isn't that similar to discussing?
Yeah, but
that's cool.
you can narrow the list of candidates that you might wish to have at the meeting that you ultimately are going to make a decision at. That winnowing or narrowing of the list should be at an open session.
Got it. All right.
Through the chair, I really like the idea of sending out maybe 1 to 3 questions to the candidates, just to ask about their goals and where they see themselves fitting into the council team, something like that. Would you all be supportive of that, just
I
as
think
a?
that's, yeah, what I suggested and talked to you and Eddie both about, so I think we were all in agreement on that.
You could, I mean, if you don't have all of those questions formulated right now, you could decide that questions that you think of, you're going to submit to the city manager by a certain date, and that she will then process sending out those questions to those applicants and identify a date for responses to be provided back to the city. That would at least provide a framework for you to have that additional information.
So right now we have 15 candidates, right?
14, yeah.
14?
And applications, I think, are open until
May 5th,
sometime next.
May 5th, yeah, I believe.
So we'd have to wait until then to send out the questionnaire. Till the
Not necessarily, we could send it as applicants
Oh,
come
there's
in.
a deadline.
Send them in now.
Yeah.
Okay, so then if we send it out hypothetically tomorrow, and then we get 15 more applicants until May 5th, and we just send out the.
And we send,
Okay.
I would,
We just
I
don't
would
want to
start the
exclude
process,
anybody.
yeah, I would start the process of just sending it out as a follow-up
Okay.
to every submission.
And so do we want to have a meeting where we invite everyone to come speak for 3 minutes, or we want to narrow it down? I mean, it's kind of hard to make decisions when you don't have contact with folks.
It is.
You know, you're looking at paper, it's, you know, it's difficult. You know, Eddie, you know, we had talked about some folks, if they didn't attach their resume or their cover letter, like, we could, you know, start from there, but it wasn't necessarily mandatory to do so. You know, I was looking at it today, it said, it's appreciated.
Right.
So is that really a disqualifying element? You know?
Good point.
If that's one of the questions you'd like us to follow up with, to say, if you haven't provided a resume, that's now required, please provide one. The one thing I'll note about a special session, certainly we have discretion. It doesn't need to be as structured as our regular meetings. If you wanted to have something more town hall or open house style, as long as we met the requirements, for the Open Meetings Act in terms of noticing it, opening and closing the meeting and following those protocols, they could be a little bit looser in structure, similar to how the city runs its own open houses for hiring staff.
Would it be difficult to do one on a Saturday? I mean, if we did it the Saturday after, for a 2-hour session to meet the candidates?
Are you thinking Saturday the 9th?
Yeah. And then that would give us time to maybe narrow some things down before Monday. Maybe even from there, right? Because we would have to publicly discuss the narrowing down, is what you were saying, Dan?
Yes.
Though you don't need to necessarily discuss your exact criteria for how, you could all simply just
say,
say,
"Oh, we
here
want
are our
these
top
next-"
2 candidates, or here's each of you give me your top 3, or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
We could also do Thursday the 7th, but I have a previous engagement, but,
Could we do Friday the 8th?
well, I don't, the City Hall's closed that day. I wouldn't be opposed to Friday the 8th. City Hall's also closed on Saturday, so.
Yeah, yeah.
8th is okay with me. If it's,
Friday the 8th, are you looking for a daytime or an evening?
Evening.
6 to 8, maybe?
Yeah.
Oh, wait, no, Friday, yeah. Is that Mother's Day weekend? It is, isn't it?
It's the Friday before, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
What about folks
about
that
the
can't
7th?
attend?
What?
Like, if folks can't make it, can't make that meeting, can we, offer up a
They can-
alternative?
Write in what they.
Write in,
They
or-
could come on the 11th, they could write in,
I guess we could do the 7th. I don't know that I could do the 8th, and it'd be more easy for me to rearrange the 7th.
just to know, we do have a conflict with Fern and Learn on the evening of the 7th, which has the conference, this chamber booked.
Could we do Wednesday, the final date, or that's just, it would have to be after?
The final day is Tuesday, I believe, the 5th. I can double check that. But
why don't we just have a meeting before the meeting on the 11th?
Well, because, I don't know.
I think it depends on how much time you want to give people to speak.
Yeah. So what about that Wednesday?
Just checking the city calendar. Dean, do you know if there's a conflict with that date?
Looking at the 13th or the 6th?
The 6th.
6th.
Let me take a look here.
Oh, it's, we could also potentially move Fern and Learn to Incubizo if needed. There you go, I've just got the message.
Okay.
So Thursday is still in play and potentially Wednesday.
Tuesday or Thursday seems fine.
And would this be like then would this be like a town hall setting then, kind of thing?
Yeah, I
don't think
think
it needs
we
to
would
be
want
a
to set some very clear parameters for the participants in terms of what they should prepare and how much time they'll have to speak. Or you can set it up open house style, where they come and just engage with you all during that process. It's really about how formal or informal you want it to feel.
I kind of feel like if everyone had the opportunity to speak for 5 minutes, you know, just to kind of tell us about them, what they want to work on, what they're passionate about, what policies are driving, you know, them to apply. You know, give everybody the opportunity to speak to all of us, you know. I think if we do informally, we might miss folks and, you know.
And do you think it would just be sort of a speech forum setting, or would we ask follow-up questions, or?
We can ask a couple.
It'll extend the meeting.
Keep it simple. I guess we'd have to ask the same for every person.
Right, right.
So if we wanted to have a couple questions lined up in advance, we could. That necessarily, we wouldn't have to have that now.
Yeah. Yes, and if the intent is to give everyone 5 minutes to speak, you know, we can either, with the questions that you all have, make those the questions that they answer with their presentation, or ask them to provide the written copy of that.
Yeah.
I do think the questions like, you know, what are your top goals and how would you work with the team are appropriate for oral responses.
Yeah.
There is a CPAR meeting at 5 o'clock on Wednesday. I'm not sure how long that would go, if Chief or Dan would know the answer to that.
They usually take an hour to an hour and a half.
We talking this Wednesday?
Say the 6th.
Okay, good. I mean, that's still pretty soon, but yeah, this Wednesday would not be a lot of notice for folks.
Yeah, so we're looking at either Wednesday, May 6th, or Thursday, May 7th, and asking candidates to prepare a 5-minute presentation answering maybe 2 to 3 questions.
3 to 5 minutes. It doesn't have to be
3 to 5 minutes, okay.
But,
Not exactly 5 minutes,
they don't
3 to
have
5 minutes.
And I wouldn't say it's a presentation. They get 5 minutes to speak.
Whatever they want to say
Yeah.
that they find relevant.
But to specifically answer any questions, or do you want those questions answered in written format?
Either,
I think let them tell us what their policies and they want to work on, maybe, in their 5 minutes. What's important to them, right?
Do you want them to do that in person or through written?
I think in person. Yeah, I think. I don't know, what do you all think?
So just like if it was a forum, you have 5 minutes to introduce yourself and state your policies. Is that kind of thing?
Yeah.
That'll work.
Yeah, so the questions I have so far, just from hearing you all, is what are your top 3 goals of the council person? How do you believe you would fit in with the current council team, and what policies drove you to apply, and do you want to work on as a council member?
Seems comprehensive.
Yep.
could you remind me of the dates we're talking about? I'm sorry.
Either May 6th or May 7th, Wednesday or Thursday.
Not day of, not the 11th.
No. I believe the expectation is at the 11th, you would narrow the candidate pool or select a candidate.
Okay. We have to decide on the date today?
We do, right? Does it have to be just?
If you can. It
Yeah.
provides-
Yes.
Notices to the applicants.
Okay,
If you, I mean, if you all need to check your schedules tomorrow and confirm with me, and we just select the date that works better for the majority, then that's fine.
I'm open for either date.
That'd be really helpful for me. I have things every
Yeah.
day, so I need to see which one.
Sure.
I need to confer with the boss.
Okay,
and see which
before-
one I can,
Before end of day tomorrow, if you can let me know your
I will.
preference for either the 6th or 7th, then I will work with the clerk's office to set the date. as the one that works best for the majority of the group.
Thank you. And we should figure out a,
And Friday's off the table, right? We took Friday off the table.
Correct.
Does the 7th work for everyone?
I don't know.
I could do the 7th.
so.
I'll do the 7th. If it's only up to me, if I'm the holdup.
A contingency for applicants who can't make the set date. You know, I don't know what,
They can give
something
us
that's
in writing
equitable.
the
Yeah.
Give it in
questions.
Yeah, they
writing.
could give their responses in writing if they can't make that.
Okay. Or reach out to us individually. I'd be fine with that.
All right.
I think I have the direction that I need to move forward.
Thank you.
And again, the deadline to have, we absolutely have to have a selection made by the 26th, is that right?
Yes.
26th, okay. I think that if the candidates do send out the ones who cannot make it, they should actually send it to the Ferndale City Council email as a whole,
Correctly,
so that
yep.
we all get it. Not individually, things happen like that, so.
Yep, I can provide that instruction.
Happy to see so many applicants, and I think there's more to come. I think we're going to have more than 14, which is a good thing. All right. Any more discussion regarding the vacancy? Do we have what we need?
I have what I need.
All right. Then now we're moving on to, it's when we have the discussion items that throws me. It's called a council now. Actually, I'm deferring to the city manager for department head updates and then call to council.
Parks?
Good evening, council. Just a few updates primarily about the Martin Road Park construction. The mobilization began today, so they are out there doing the site work and expecting to complete the demo work on the bathroom and the accompanying storage facility this Friday. We anticipate them continuing the necessary site work to prep the ground and everything through this week and next week, and then beginning the construction on the building in earnest that following week. During this time, the amenities will remain available. That means the splash pad, the playground, the park pavilions, they will all remain available to the public. Additionally, rentals will continue during this period as well. So if you're looking to rent the pavilions for any upcoming graduation parties or birthday parties or anything like that, please feel free to contact us. There will be a brief period that the walking path will be diverted. That is anticipated to take place from May 1st to May 5th. During that time, the walking path will still be accessible, but there will be an area just north of the projected construction area where the walking path will need to be moved around to accommodate some of the demo work that's going on. Other than that, we anticipate the project will run all the way through until about October of this year. And by then we'll have a completed facility. The facility is, as you know, a concession and restroom facility. The restrooms are particularly important for us to be able to maintain our maximum capacity at the splash pad. And the concessions will offer us an opportunity to serve some of the longer term staying people in our parks, and also offer an additional revenue stream for our Parks Department. Other than that, if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Other than that, that's it for us. All right, thank you.
Police?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I just want to take a minute to update some coming attractions. Police Week is May 11th through the 17th. We'll be hosting our Memorial Week observance on Tuesday, the 12th at 10 a.m. in front of City Hall. Hopefully, if you're available, you can make it. At the end of that week, the Saturday, is our Touch a Truck event and open house. It's from 11 to 1 p.m. There'll be the Mean Weenie Hot Dog Mobile will be out there, and we'll be serving ice cream, hot dogs, and we have participation from a lot of police departments, and our DPW and fire department are participating, so it should be a fun event. It's geared towards all ages, but we're hoping to bring in our kids from our community in Hazel Park and Ferndale School District. There should be notice going out for that event shortly. We've been working on that with comms, and we expect that to hit social media probably by the end of the week. I am sad to share the news that one of our volunteer police auxiliaries has passed away. Auxiliary Officer Mark Webb was 65 when he passed away after a sickness in the hospital on April 22nd. He served on our auxiliary for 17 years. Most of those years he volunteered more than 100 hours a year. Leaves behind a wife and 2 daughters. Mark will be laid to rest tomorrow. There'll be a short visitation at 9:30. I'm sorry, let me try to get that right. Yes, from 9:30 to 10, he will lie in state at St. Matthias Catholic Church in Sterling Heights. Following the service, there will be a procession to Resurrection Cemetery in Clinton Township. Much of our administrative staff will be attending this in the morning. So we appreciate his life of dedication and service to our community, and he will be missed. Thank you.
EDA?
Buenas noches a todos. This weekend will be the Cinco de Mayo Festival. It's going to be held down here at Bermuda and on East 9 Mile. So there will be some road closures for anyone who is passing through, but the festival will be open to the public on Saturday, May 2nd from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. and then also on Sunday, May 3rd from 12 p.m. to 9 p.m. And if you are intrigued by all you have heard lately about the DDA, we have some spots available on our DDA board. So we are especially seeking representatives of the TIF district, which spans from Livernois to Bermuda and then along Woodward from north to Breckenridge, actually, and then down to Saratoga. So by state law, we are required to have representation in a majority of the TIF district. That can be business owners, property owners, employees, staff, affiliates, organizations. So anyone who is especially in the TIF district, or if you are interested in downtown, you are part of the broader DDA district that spans to Paxton, Pinecrest, Marshall, and Oak Ridge to the north. You are also welcome to be included. So please, if you know anyone who might be interested, encourage them to apply via ferndalemi.gov under boards and commissions. Thank you.
That's it.
Okay. All right, then moving on to call to council. And I can never remember where I started, but you're the lone person over here. I'll start with you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Councilmember Sabatini.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just want to echo your sentiment from earlier. I'm really inspired by the number of applicants we have and hope that we have more. Anyone thinking of applying, I would encourage you to do so. If you think your resume is not perfect and you're doubting yourself, don't do so. Apply. There's no such thing as a perfect resume. We want to hear from you, and appreciate your consideration. That's it.
To Councilmember Kelly.
I'll just say what he said. Please apply, and we encourage you to apply, and yeah. That's it.
Mayor Pro Tem Mikulski.
I mean, I echo those sentiments as well. I did also want to thank the concerned resident for raising the red flag about the vehicle outside of the Kulik building, and thank Councilmember Sabatini for his work in engaging those folks, as well as the mayor and our city manager for engaging with the school and finding out that this was not something that was permitted and that there was that there was nothing that should be happening there. It occurs to me that this feels very reminiscent of the Great Recession, when there were a lot of things happening with scrapping throughout our town. And I appreciate that our residents are keeping their eyes open and being mindful, and that we're all keeping our community safe. Beyond that, I also wanted to extend a thank you to our DPW for cleaning up a pile of bread and food that has slowly been accumulating over by the railroad on 9 Mile, at the 9 Mile crossing. I'm not sure who the individual might be that is leaving that there. It's something that's been happening for years. We've seen it come and go in various states of breadiness and decomposing breadiness. And I hope that that individual reaches out to us to find a better way to do whatever it is that they might want to do. I don't know if this is somebody who's trying to connect food resources to humans or wildlife or what they might be doing, but I get that there's a sentiment there. It's just not the appropriate place for it to be. And I would ask that if we have the opportunity, if we can put up a no dumping sign near that area, that may help to steer them in the right direction.
Okay. All right, and I would like to extend my condolences to the Webb family. I've been to the police auxiliary dinner every year since I believe I started council, and he was always there. I can't be at the ceremony tomorrow, but please do extend my condolences to the family. And something that I believe Councilmember Sabatini posted over the weekend regarding the treatment that staff's been getting when they come into City Hall. I just, his post was thorough, but I just want to take this opportunity to thank all of the staff, because you deal with a lot. I don't think people understand that you're there every day doing your job, and when you don't see it, when people don't see it, they don't necessarily understand it or the magnitude of it. And it just bothered me a great deal to hear that you were treated like that, and I just want to take this opportunity to thank all of you who are having to deal with this, and thank you for everything that you do. You know, when it comes to, you know, wanting something done, I've been guilty of this. People want it right away, but I think that just to the community, maybe we can extend a little grace to give the individuals whom we encounter the opportunity to resolve the situation before things get escalated and out of control. So, in short, be kind, please. I'm wearing green today because the Giggle Pickles are off to Houston. So I hope that they do a great job, and I can't wait to hear how they fare, and I hope they come back with a championship. I just want to mention something that's happened at the MML level, Michigan Municipal League. The legislative staff, they actually have been they actually attended on April 23rd, the Senate Appropriations Committee, where they met and spoke, and the Appropriations Committee voted on Senate Bills 559, 561, and 912. And just to kind of give you an overview of what those are the bills to create the Revenue Sharing Trust Fund and to tie the resources to a percentage of the sales tax. A 17-0 vote in favor is positive. I know that they will be back tomorrow for the whole Senate to vote, so please, if you get an opportunity, I've already done this, but please, if you get an opportunity, reach out to our senator who serves on that committee, Senator McMorrow, for voting yes in favor of that, because we all know the importance of statutory revenue sharing, and we know what it means when municipalities lose that. So please take that opportunity to thank her. And then you can also reach out to other senators, because I think that the vote's going to happen sometime this week with the full Senate committee. I'm trying to see if I had anything else. That's it. But with that being said, thank you to everyone who wants to apply for the council position. It's not an easy job, and the fact that you want to take the time to do that, I commend you. I look forward to working with the new council member and meeting all those and hearing your ideas and your views and what you want to see, how you want to see the city moving forward, and I'm excited about it. I think it's going to be great. May the best person win it. With that being said, this meeting is adjourned at 9:44. Thank you, drive safe, and have a good evening.